I'm Hannah Solicitor. I specialise in wills, probate, tax and trusts and mental capacity work, and I'm based in the Ryde office in Melville Street on the Isle of Wight. So there are so many more options these days of being able to order will packs or pop to the local shop and get a blank pack to be able to do these things. They are only as good as the information that you have, and what you're missing out on is the value of the advice that goes with it. Whilst you can do these things very cheaply, you do get what you pay for when it comes to will drafting. It's really important because you cannot fix this problem after you've passed away. It is really important that you make sure that it is right and that you have that peace of mind that it is done properly. We hear so often, oh well, it's fine, I'll just do it myself. Most of the wills that we have seen that have been done in person when it comes to actually dealing with the estate have some quite major errors in them, just because the person drafting them didn't understand the law and didn't understand the wording that was being used. So over the years that I've been in practice, I've seen some really awful homemade wills. Quite often there are some glaring mistakes in that the will hasn't been signed properly. The will has to be signed in accordance with the formalities of the Wills Act, and often it's just not been done properly, so the will is invalid. Sometimes there are problems with the clauses within the will. Somebody hasn't made a fallback provision, so the person that they've left their estate to has died, and it's created an intestacy, so their wishes aren't being carried out. Sometimes there are incorrect clauses because the intention of the person that made the will isn't clear. I once had a will where the intention was to leave everything to each other, and actually the wording left each other to each other rather than the money. So in effect they were gifting their bodies to each other but not the money. It was a really simple mistake, but the consequences of it were fairly horrendous. I've also had situations where people have made codicils, which is an addition to a will after the original will has been made. The codicil needs to republish the will, and I've often found that codicils have been handwritten by people and they have completely undermined the original will, and often the wrong beneficiaries end up with the bulk of the estate. It's very, very easy to make quite significant mistakes when drafting a will, which is why we always recommend having a chat with one of us, working out what it is that you really want to happen, and then we will find a way to make the wording carry out your wishes and to ensure that you know what's going to happen after your passing. So if somebody's made a will and it's terrible and they are still alive, it's easily fixed. We can make a new will, that's fine. You can only make a new will if you have testamentary capacity, so mental capacity to make one. So I would say if it's discovered that your will is invalid, you need to make sure that it is redone as quickly as possible with a qualified professional who can make sure that the same mistakes aren't made again. If somebody has passed away, then it's incredibly difficult. So you are legally obliged to carry out the wishes under that will, which may be not what the intention was of the testator. If all of the beneficiaries are over 18 and agree that the will should be changed, a deed of variation can be entered into, but it becomes much more complicated if any of the beneficiaries are under 18. There is also the possibility to rectify a will after somebody has passed away. This usually requires an application to the court, which can become very expensive. It's also a massive headache to deal with any of this after somebody has died. Often what people underestimate is how upset they're going to be feeling and how emotional they're going to be feeling when they are bereaved. That is not the time that people need to be going off to court because the will wasn't done properly.